Okay.
All right, we're officially at 11:05. Eric, you want to get us started?
Sure. I'm going to share my screen real quick and then I'll hand it over to Elizabeth after I kind of walk through. So, about a year ago, actually a little over a year ago, we started putting together a key data dashboard, and we called it the alt modality key data dashboard. And it was to represent key metric data to show how the university was transitioning into the alternative modality of being fully remote, some of the things that we were doing to support students in that effort. And the elements on this page have been kind of ever changing to represent kind of information around that particular event. And what I'm looking at trying to do is transition the key data dashboard into a dashboard that is helpful to all of ASU, that represents key data elements that everyone is interested in. So I was going to walk through real quick to show what we have, but also getting input on formatting. So I'm curious about what you guys in the areas that you represent would be interested in seeing as far as data coming out. And that can be metric data, that can be operational data. How are things performing? Is it up? Is it down? Utilization data. Is it used? Is it not? So keeping that in mind, elements that you would like to see on here, and also looking at how we can better get this site so it's easier to read and consume. Because right now it's really flat. Everything just kind of sits on a layer. These top elements are updated by hand. We go out and look at other dashboards to get information. We update it by hand, but these down here are populated through Tableau reports and then put into a web frame and presented here. So again, very COVID-centric health check interactions. So we can see that health check interactions started to go up big time in October when we really spun this up. Looks like everyone's really was into it on the 9th, but then it starts to taper down a little bit through the rest of the week. Mobile application metrics, so information about engagement there. Canvas users tells us the number of engagements for students and within Canvas. Zoom, as Lev kind of walked through at the beginning, the key data elements for Q3. This is where he gets a lot of that information. Experience Center. So our Experience Center takes a lot of calls, and this gives an overall sense of call volume for some of the key different areas. So for total call volume, they're pretty consistent around the 2,000 calls a day for the most part. Sometimes it's a little below, sometimes it's over. As you can see at the beginning of the semester, they can do over 4,000 calls in a day. Fairly substantial. And then we broke it into some of the key different areas. So IT support calls, about how many. Financial aid, so you can see financial aid is fairly substantial for the group. Parking and transit services, still a fairly decent amount for our campus. Password resets, ASU services. So this is based on services that come into the Experience Center and some of those key ones. And then the health check line number. So these are calls coming in. So not a lot of data there, and all of it is very centric around our COVID realities. And what I'm kind of going back to the beginning, what I'm looking for assistance for is identifying what are you interested in? What information would we present on here that you would find value, that you would want to look at it periodically or be driven to frequently to see the status of things. So that is my opening plea for assistance on how can we better serve up data in a way that helps you guys make decisions, or at least know how things are operating within ASU.
Thank you, Eric. And the way that we're going to collect all your feedback today is in a combination of methods. So I'm going to put in the chat a link to our Jamboard. And in our Jamboard, everyone should be able to access. Let us know if you're having any trouble accessing. I see folks are already jumping in there. Great. And I will share my screen so we can all look at the same thing. And so what we'll want to do together is fill in our strengths And so you can go over to the side and create a sticky note and then save that sticky note, and it will show up on the Jamboard. So that's how you would give feedback. And what we have here are 4 different screens. So one for our strengths, one for our opportunities. So what are the best opportunities? What are our most interesting and potent opportunities? Identify opportunities that will help the idea take flight. So I think when Eric and I were talking about this session, what he was really interested in was, I think, the opportunities. What metrics do you want to see? So this is a great place to put any ideas that you have. The strengths, really focusing on what things are there today that you want to keep seeing. What things are there today that are working? What is the context of that dashboard or those series of visualizations there today that are working? Opportunities, what can we improve? Then our aspirations, so what's the preferred future state? And then results, so what are those key results? How do we measure those key metrics? So we're going to give folks a few minutes to start adding your sticky notes and filling out the Jamboard for our SOAR analysis. And while you are doing that, we would love to take any questions that you have. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question, or feel free to ask a question in the chat, or would love to hear your verbal feedback, and we'll take some notes. If you're not, if maybe your idea is not quite ready for a sticky note yet, but you want to process out loud or get some feedback or reactions from the rest of the group, please unmute yourself and let's have a conversation about what you'd like to see with these key data dashboards and how they might be improved. Yeah, aspirations, all data elements are automated. Absolutely. Opportunities. We've already got some ideas for some new data. That's great. Student activity. Oh, even in the areas of enrollment, ServiceNow data, tickets.
Would there be interest in network performance information and how granular that you guys might want to see that?
I was on mute. Yes, this is Sandy. I think there would be, especially like as the students come back, we could, look at the growth of the use of the network, or as people are coming back with more devices, et cetera. That would be very useful for some IT folks.
So you kind of mentioned something on devices hitting our network. If there were a way for us to identify the types of devices, would that be something that we would see value in showing on a dashboard that X percentage of this operating system or device touching our network? And at what layer? Is it wireless or is it wired?
I'm going to say yes again. I know at some point people have asked for data on, also have asked for data about how many Macs iDevices versus non-iDevices, computers versus Macs as well, PCs versus Macs.
So within UTO, we have a incident prioritization scale that we've implemented. P4 through P0. P0 is the most urgent and most critical. Is there interest in seeing some sort of a graph breakdown on P4 through P0 incidents? So in the last month, what they are, and curious to see if that's something that everyone's interested in. How would you want that broken down? Would you want it just broken down by average time to resolution? Would you be interested in configuration item breakdown or services broken down? So if someone wants to, if that sparks anyone's interest, if they want to put some sticky notes out there and opportunities or other areas to help articulate that, if there's an interest there, I'd appreciate it. We're getting some really good ones. Oh yeah, the how many items in the backlog and how many JIRA tickets have been completed. So kind of that progress of work. Oh yes, the product stats. So what's being used with and at what frequency and volume. It kind of speaks to that everyone wants this X tool, but you discover it's like 5 people use it and it's licensed for 10,000. Or vice versa, that you think no one's ever using a tool and you find out half the campus is using it. Excellent. Aspirations. Just kind of looking at the aspirations one's future growth with AI, machine learning, and data building. Yeah, how can we have this actually build that information out? Oh yeah, the have links to all UTO products, services, and metrics. Would we even want to expand that one beyond UTO? And because many of our departments, many of you who aren't a part of, say, UTO, are providing products and services to campus. Would we want to represent that data so it's holistic to all of IT services or systems at ASU, and not necessarily just those that are within the UTO realm of responsibility? Oh, that's a good one. The employee demographic breakdown. That would be fascinating to have kind of the diversity transparency report. What does IT look like? That's a really good one. Oh yes, I like the option to sign up for alerts. So we have some Slack channels. I don't think we've extended them outside of the UTO Slack space, but we've got Slack channels around alerting that when basically we've got a web one that monitors a bunch of websites and it posts in that Slack channel. So getting that so there's more visibility out there. Employee happiness KPI. Yes.
Sashi has a comment in the chat. An authenticated page of key data. Would love to see my key data to get an understanding of the usage and other metrics, my own usage of various tools and technologies, incidents I resolved, etc. So looking at personal metrics.
Kind of like your own personal portal where you're jumping in there and it's pulling from the various locations, and you have your metrics that you want to monitor, but then it also has some of the other systems brought in around incidents resolved and things.
That's really cool.
That's very intriguing. I like that. I'm
bring
gonna add that as a sticky note.
Yeah, could bring that in from Jira and ServiceNow and look at interaction data, all kinds of things you could integrate there. Other thoughts or questions? I know we've got some UTO folks here, some folks that are outside of UTO. Is there anything that you need clarification on? Anything that's new to you that you want Eric to explain a little bit more? Is that Todd's question, is that something like a curated set of data for information that I'm able to access and do ad hoc analysis with? Todd, talk a little bit more about that.
I was just thinking like of a department that maybe wouldn't need to get a hold of UTO, or doesn't need a specific just data person to give that curated. But like if I was in human resources, just like an easy way to do quick analysis on human resource type data. It's kind of already modeled for me that I can do quick drag and drop, whether it's in Tableau or whatever other tool, just to try to, like, if I don't know the question I'm asking yet, I can do quick drag and drop type analysis to try to form my question. I think we talked about before, like curated and like modeled centralized data sets that are for specific types of questions, but not specifically answered to any question, but generalized. Sorry, specific but general.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any, particularly in some of the performance data, some opportunities to break some things down by departments or by different groups in some of that data, like the Zoom data or other areas that maybe it doesn't make sense to put on a public site, but that could be made available for those who are interested in doing that level of analysis, if that's relevant to their department or college or area. Yeah, I like this comment. Combine some elements beyond counts to produce more meaningful, actionable information. For example, does time spent in Canvas indicate student success? Yeah, great comment. On the dashboards on the key data page, the Zoom one is the only one that has really some of those summary statistics. So maybe some of those more kind of metrics and actionable metrics on other dashboards as well, but then also linking those metrics to outcomes.
And Walter on the side is sharing the magic of Splunk in a separate Slack message. So some of the stuff that we were talking about automating, wanting to automate on the current key data dashboard, Walter may have a solution for us.
I love it.
Oh, there's a great question on the results thing. Who is using the dashboard? So what departments, roles, and etc. So who is the audience? That adds a whole nother intriguing, like, cool layer to this, where maybe you come into it and you have an audience related button up at the top that I'm an IT professional. I click on that and it gives you things that the system thinks might be relevant to you, or I'm in admissions and it might give you something that may make sense, that could be relevant to you. So instead of it being like an IT focused system, as we look at other data elements, it's kind of one entry point into many different elements, and depending on how you want to come in to look at the system, it presents you with different information. But then bringing into what Sashi was saying is that might be an opportunity that creates your own dashboard. So you drag the elements in so it shows kind of what you're wanting to do. So that's a really cool idea. I know right now the current dashboard is looked at mostly by UTO leadership and university executive leadership. So there's a couple of numbers in there. I know that President Crow has pulled weekly for his own reporting out of there. Measurable results if students have broken any threshold for data consumption on the network. Yeah, the A/B method of marketing to help kind of dial things down, narrow things down. Are there any other results that everyone on here could can think of that we might want to put into our SOAR report? Either pop them in on as a little sticky note here in the Jamboard, or drop it in the chat. Or if you want to unmute, feel free to share with Elizabeth and myself. Yep, dashboard used for driving decisions. Absolutely. Yep, viewing and valuing the amount of work accomplished. Yep, kind of that historic look. Are there any other thoughts or directions that we may not have touched on here? Other things that when we said key data dashboard that drove you to join this session that we may not be talking about, because perspectives can vary on this topic, and I'm really curious if we've got different perspectives out there, alternative viewpoints that may have brought you here that we may not be touching on at the moment, because I'd like to get that captured as well. Are there any examples? So where is the list of dashboards available to ASU staff? Great question, Sandy. The ones that we have within UTO that are UTO focused, if you go out to uto.asu.edu, up along the top banner, there's a little section dashboards. Click on there, and the second one down is our the key data dashboard that I showed, but we've got some other dashboards, one other dashboard on there. Looks like that operational and digital transformation dashboard, which is a bit dated and needs to be updated because that team in our UTO 2.1 is a little different than it used to be. So, but yes, and then thank you, Sashi, the analytics.asu.edu. And there are different dashboards on there. Some of them are viewable to everyone. Some of them you have to request permissions to access. So, well, it looks like we're being recalled into the general plenary area. I want to thank all of you for joining us today, sharing your insight, your ideas. I've gotten some really good kind of sparks. So I really appreciate everyone taking your time and joining today. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks everyone for participating. Have a good one.